Hawks Walk Talk Secular Stories. The Philadelphia International Airport, 2002. My mom's husband, he had got me the job there because he worked for the airlines. And he did something else. Matter of fact, he worked at the Marriott at the airport. He got me the job there. I was working for Sky News. You know, Sky News is the store. They sell magazines, like sodas, water, snacks. You know, basically a little convenience store. And there was one in each terminal. Terminal A, Terminal B. Terminal C had two stores, D and E. There was no Terminal F at the time, even though they had started building Terminal F when I was working there. But at the time, when I first started working there was no Terminal F. I worked at the airport from early spring of 2002 to right before Christmas. So that's about what? About roughly 9 months I worked at the airport. It was some fun times. I remember when I first started working there, I was at Terminal D because Terminal D was where all the stock workers trained. You know, and the dude training me was an OG Jamaican dude named Creighton. Man, he was a wild dude. And he eventually got fired. He got fired like maybe 2 months after I started working there. I worked with him for a couple months. Like, he was a real cool, funny dude. Even though we got into it at first, I think, you know how you start working at a job, you a young boy, because I had just turned 18. Dude was like already in his 30s. So you know how you the young boy on the job and the OG, they'll try to punk you or whatever, or try to put you on a spot in front of the other employees. Like, he would try to do shit like that. Then one day I had to check him, was about to put hands on him, and he knew this shit wasn't sweet, and we was cool from then on. You know what I mean? He trained me to be the best stock worker in the airport, because, you know, for every Sky News store, they had a stock worker. You know what I mean? The stock worker was in charge of bringing up all this stuff from the warehouse. You know what I mean? The beverages, the snacks, the magazines, souvenirs, cards, whatever. That was our job, to bring all of that up and stack the magazines, stock the cooler with the beverages. Now the cashiers and the ladies that worked in the store, they were in charge of like putting everything else up that we brought up from the warehouse. Now I was in Terminal D probably my first 3 months there, because I was still in Terminal D a month after the boy Creighton got fired. But he got fired for doing wild shit, like calling back to his homeland in Jamaica, like on a company phone, racking up thousands of dollars in charges. He was stealing. Like, I ain't gonna hold you. All of the Sky News workers, you know what I mean, everybody, you know what I mean, took what they can. You know what I mean? I would watch cashiers, instead of ringing up the customers, they would put the money right in their pocket when nobody was looking. They was doing that throughout all the stores, and yes, a lot of them eventually got caught and got fired. A couple of them was even brought up on criminal charges. I ain't gonna mention their names, but a couple of girls, like, this was almost towards the end of my time at the airport though. Like, it was a couple of girls from South Philly. It was a older lady, and it was two younger girls. They would be in there getting it. You know what I mean? Pocketing money, stealing stuff from the stores. Now everybody partook in candy, beverages, like little stuff like that. Everybody partook in little stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's like, as long as you not getting caught, you know what I mean, what the hell, right? But the dude Creighton, he was wilding with it though. You know, it's always those that don't know how to take advantage within the limits. You always got one motherfucker that wants to make everything extra and make it hard for everybody. But yeah, everybody that worked for Sky News was getting over. I mean, motherfuckers wasn't really getting paid no money. Like, as a stock worker, I was making like $11 an hour. And this was back in 2002. And you know, back in those days, ninjas was making maybe $6, $7 an hour. So when you told cats you was making $11 an hour, they thought you was doing something. But $11 an hour wasn't shit though. Especially when they taking taxes out your shit. So yeah, I definitely was doing my due when I was working at the airport. You know, being in charge of bringing all the goods to the stores. Every month, I got to issue a Source magazine, XXL, Slam magazine, Sports Illustrated when they would have the NBA and the NFL preview. You know, but you do stuff in limits. But people was at the airport getting their hustle on. And I was always a hustler. You know what I mean? This is back when I was selling weed. You know what I mean? Downloading music, smutties, movies, music, and all that on the DVDs. So I was getting my hustle on even when I was working at the airport, because a lot of the Sky News employees, they definitely did smoke weed. So I was making more money from my outside hustles than my actual paycheck with Sky News. Like, as if I was making $11 an hour, because I mean, this was 23 years ago now. You know what I mean? You making $11 an hour. So that's about $88 a day. You know what I mean? So I was making an alright little couple dollars there. You know what I mean? Getting paid bi-weekly. But like I said, selling bud and making money off downloads, that little Sky News check ain't really have nothing on that. I was stashing most of my Sky News money. That's why when they gave me the boot, I was cool not working for those few months before I started working with the school board in early 2003. But it was some wild times though at the airport. Like, I got a couple of my homies' jobs there, and I started training my homie Demetrius from Winfield. You know what I mean? Shout out to me. You know what I mean? We go back to 98, my first year at Brook. So I trained him when in the D store. This was after the Jamaican boy got the boot. And then I got transferred over to Terminal E with my OG Keith when he quit Sky News, because he already had another job in the airport, but then he started working with TSA. There was a lot of cats that worked for Sky News that had other jobs in the airport, like my old head Vernon. You know what I mean? Shout out to my OGs Vernon and Keith. You know, they worked for TSA. And the OG Keith, he eventually quit Sky News, and he was in Terminal E. Now, Terminal E, I loved working in Terminal E. You know what I mean? The manager of that store, Cubby, you know what I mean? Shout out to Cubby. She is a religious fanatic, but she was cool as shit, though. You know what I mean? Just don't catch on her bad days. You know what I mean? Because she was like sweet and sour, you know what I mean? One minute she'd be nice and all sweet and polite, but then the next minute she'd be moody, snappy. Like, we We got into it like maybe one time. I had to let her know about herself respectfully because she was an OG. She was already in her 40s and I'm a young boy. I was 18, about going on 19. I always had respect for my elders, you know what I mean? But even still, you got to give respect to get respect. But yeah, me and cuz we got along cool. I had fun working in Terminal E. That's when I had some of my best airport memories. So I'm in Terminal E. My homie D, he's in Terminal D. It's funny. E for Eric, I'm in E. His name starts with a D. He's in Terminal D. Then you have my Jamaican homie, Wayne, and the other guy, Q, in Terminal C. Terminal A, it was a lot of Jamaican guys that worked in Sky News, mostly as stock workers though. You have my OG Rich. Rich was a funny old head though. He was he was about to knock out the store manager, because the store manager in Terminal B, he was already a bitch ass nigga. One of them type clowns that abuse his little position. You know what I mean? The Rich was an OG, cool OG too. But I remember the time they was getting into it, and the boy Rich, you know how you'll tell somebody, man, you fucking with the wrong one. He told this dude, he said, you're fucking with the right one. He was like, you're fucking with the right one. He was like, you don't know me, I'm on probation. Yo, had us rolling. He said, you know a motherfucker want all the smoke when you tell him you're fucking with the right one. Oh, man. But yeah, all the stock workers got along. The warehouse, that's where all the stock workers, we always seem to be down there at the same time, picking up whatever to take back to our respective stores. Now, the cats that worked in the warehouse, they were some cool old OGs too. Like my OG Yacht. You know what I mean? The old head Poppy boy. His name will come back to me. You know what I mean? We used to always be down in the warehouse talking shit. Talking about all the different honeys that you see through the airport. Man, I seen some of the finest women working at the airport. And you always seen celebrities. It was a given to see a celebrity in the airport. Too many to name. But it was always a sight to see. That was the best thing about working at the airport though, was the view. And if you was into the honeys and this is back when I was in my prime. So I was always bagging something at the airport. I had a few shorties that was even working at the airport at the time I was working there. Now, I ain't gonna mention none of their names, but I was messing with the one honey that, well, talking to her, we wasn't in a relationship or nothing, but you know, we'd creep off, go down in a little ducky spot, you know what I mean, get a little quickie in. And that was the thing about working at the airport. When you had that blue badge, you had unlimited access. You could go anywhere in the airport. All the stock workers had the blue badge. Now, if you just had the red badge, you couldn't go to those limits unless you was escorted by someone with a blue badge. Let me tell you, I was the king of finding little ducky spots throughout the airport. See, because I had a system which allowed me to coast through the afternoon hours. My hours at the airport was 8 to 4. So that's already not a bad schedule. And I didn't drive to the airport because I wasn't paying to park, then still have to get on a shuttle. So, you know, I lived in Winfield, so I would take the 52 bus to 52nd and Margate, take that to City Hall. No, my bad. I would take that to 30th Street Station. Then from 30th Street Station, you would take the regional rail. The R5 took you straight to the airport. So yeah. But anyway, my day started at 8 o'clock at the airport. You know, I would leave the house by 7, and by 7:30, it only took about 15 minutes, if that, to get the 52nd and Margate. And by the time you got on the train, it only took maybe 6-7 minutes to get to 30th Street. And then the R train was the longest ride, but you would never really have to wait for that. As soon as I would get to the platform, the R train would be taking off. And speaking of the R train, man, it was these two fine honeys that we used to always see on the R train in the morning and in the afternoon. They worked, they got off at the Eastwick station, which was right before the airport. Man. And I remember the one time, me and a homie, we linked up with them, like on some off the clock shit. One weekend, man, we passed them around like blunts in rotation, and they had a friend with them. Man, that was a memorable night. So yeah, working from 8 to 4, I would get in at 8 o'clock, and by lunchtime, because I would go on lunch about 12 to 1. That way you come back at 1 o'clock. You have 3 hours left. When I would go on lunch at 12, all my work would be done. So from 12 to 4, I could basically do whatever I wanted. I mean, it might be some little shit you gotta do here or there. Like it might be a warehouse order that come in around maybe 2:30, but you just knock that out and you got the rest of the time to basically do what you wanted. And everybody in Terminal E got along because on the weekend, we would all go bowling and I would pay for everything. Like those that didn't have to work on a Friday or Saturday night, we'd go out. So everybody in the store kind of looked out for one another. So it was sweet. That's why I love Terminal E. And then I had a pizza spot hookup. I had the dude that worked at Burger King. He used to give me free food. All he wanted was video game books in return. It was like tit for tat. I got free meals all throughout the airport. I had the Chinese food hookup. All he wanted was it was a computer magazine or something he wanted every month. The pizza store hookup. He wanted the hookup on the Smutties. It was a few cats that wanted Smutty hookups. And you know, the Smutty magazines was exclusive. So that meant, like, they didn't get a whole lot of those. Luckily, my homie Yacht that worked in a warehouse, he would look out and he would always add more of certain magazines to the manifesto. So yeah, it was all love working there. But everything was all good until they brought Robbie's old pale stinking ass in. He was the new district manager. He had replaced Barbara and the other sister, I forgot her name. But they were both nice. Yeah. Barbara was a older Italian lady. And the sister, I forgot her name. Carlette, that was her name. They were sweethearts, but they left and got a job somewhere else, and they brought this clown Robbie in, and he started fucking everything up. Like he came in and cleaned house. He fired everybody. And when he fired this old white lady Peggy, who did her job, like she went above and beyond for that company. And when he fired her over something petty and stupid, like it was so petty and stupid, I don't even remember why he gave her the boot. But it's like, damn, everybody was on P's and Q's after that. He started getting rid of everybody. He got rid of my homie D. He got rid of the cool white boy Warren. They used to hang with us, fired him and his mom. And they both worked in Terminal D. He started getting rid of everybody. He got rid of the boy Tremaine. Now Tremaine, he was like an assistant manager or something. Fat goofy boy. He was gay, but he was cool. You know what I mean? But I remember he tried to push up on a homie, and a homie was about to go off on him. But Tremaine would try you if he thought he could talk to you any old kind of way. And me, I always came off nice and polite. I always respect everybody. But he tried me that one time, and I had to let him know that we had no problems after that. They got rid of the boy Tremaine, and then it was just downhill after that. And I already knew he didn't like me because the first time I talked with a one-on-one, I wasn't intimidated by him like how everybody else was. So he immediately saw that as a threat. So wherever I went, he would just start popping up out of nowhere. And how they set me up was crazy. Remember the sister I mentioned that worked at the candy spot? She was one of my main squeezes that worked at the airport. But you know how word gets around, because I was cool with a lot of shorties that worked at the airport. I had the one shorty that worked for the airline. We used to always creep off. And I think it was somebody running their mouth. It probably was that bitch ass nigga Q that worked with my homie Wayne in Terminal C, because Q was always a bitch ass nigga, always hating and saying little slick shit. I think it was the nigga Q that ran his mouth. Because you know how guys are. We'd be all down at the warehouse talking about the shorties we knew throughout the airport, and I be telling, yeah, but I would never really give detail. I would tell them about ducky spots, but I would never tell ninjas what ducky spots. Because some of the ducky spots I knew about, nobody else knew about those ducky spots. So when the chick from the candy spot found out, she started acting funny and all that, and just cussing me out and snapping on me whenever she seen me. I think the boy Q must have ran his mouth and got back to her. Then by the boy Robbie always watching me all of a sudden, because he would just start popping out of nowhere. And it's crazy. Me and the chick from the airline, she had seen us together, and that's when she started acting funny. Now I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, because this is how it all came to the end. Man, it was this bad Dominican honey that started working in my store, Terminal E. This was probably right around Halloween when she first got hired. Like, if you watch the show Orange is the New Black, the girl Dyer, that's who this shorty reminded me of. But in my opinion, she looked better, and she was thicker. You know what I mean? And she lived up in the Northeast. So, you know what I mean? We hit it all. We would always talk and chop it up in the store. She smoked, so sometimes we would like go off to the ducky spot and smoke, and you know, whatever it led to, what, you know what I mean, those quickies. We was getting it in a few times. This is how we both got caught and fired by the boy Robbie on the spot. We in a ducky spot I ain't know nobody knew about, except a couple of the shorties I took down there. Sure enough, the chick from the candy spot ran her mouth to the boy Robbie. Her and Robbie walked in on this while we getting it in the spot. Fired us right on the spot. It was like I was salty as shit, but I had to play it off. I'm like, oh man. I told these motherfuckers, get the fuck out so I could wipe my dick off. I was just so glad that I had nutted right before these motherfuckers bust in. But now I had to snatch the Jimmy off You know what I mean? Clean up all the, you know what I mean, the leftover baby batter that didn't go in the Magnum, you know what I mean? But it was just salty. Then after that, the union, though, they looked out. The union, they paid me for like the next month because this happened in December. This was about a week before Christmas that this happened. And the only thing I missed about the airport was the view, you know what I mean, my little contacts, all the people I was cool with at the airport. We got discounts on monthly trans passes and all that, but those were some Hawks Walk Talk secular stories. Shout out to the airport and all the memories I had there. I'm going to be writing a book on that soon. Stay tuned for more content. Like, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Hawk out.